Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm going to give it a few seconds to join. Thanks so much for joining. Today I'm talking about the single woman, and it's about a single woman recognizing your worth and getting yourself ready to be the love that you wish to attract in 2017. If you're a single woman and you're watching this, I encourage you to invite your friends, share this post, and allow them to come in and also learn. And I'm also going to challenge you to get a fine china, because this is part of what we're going to be using to learn from today. Tinu, thanks. I see you from joining from Nigeria. So share this and get a plate. Get a plate, because we're going to learn using the dish this morning as knowing what you recognize, as part of recognizing your worth and knowing that you should not settle for less than you deserve. Why I'm sharing this is this past couple of weeks, I've seen several posts on Facebook and in groups that I belong to on Facebook, where the single woman continues to give herself into a situation where she's becoming broken and losing her worth, losing herself in the process. And as a woman who has gone through and has overcome, my mission is to support single men and women to recognize these things and own the moment, own the truth, and become aware of those things that are missing in your life. So as you work on yourself, you don't attract the wrong person. Like I said, I'm using a fine china to do the explanation this morning. If you have a china in your home and you can break it, I want you to take a china and break it, because that's how we're going to learn this morning. We're going to learn using a china that's broken. I'm not broken, so I'm not going to break this. But I wanted to also start by letting you know that if you look at the china, you can see the fine details of this piece here. You can see the fine details that it's made up of. And I'm going to also use another one. That's number one. And they're different. This is another piece that's also different. And you can see the designs on it are different. And they're shaped differently. If you look at both of them, they're not the same. So no two women is the same. And no two women is in a competition. That's where I'm starting from. No two women are in a competition. You're your only competition. That's the starting point. Recognizing that you are created uniquely to be you, knowing that you are worth more and you're not ready to settle for less in 2017. Why did I say break a china? When you have a broken china, I don't have a broken piece, but I'm going to use this as an example. When you have a broken china, they break up into pieces. There's a large piece, there's a small piece. The minute details might not be prominent any longer, so you may not see the details. And that's why I said if you have a china, break one. If you have one that you can break one. When you break it, you end up with a large piece, a small piece, the tiny minute pieces of the broken china, and you're not able to put the china back together. But when you look at yourself, hi Gladys, I see you from Texas. When you look at yourself and you look in the mirror, what do you see? You're still that whole piece. You're not broken yet. You're not the broken pieces. You're still the whole piece that's together. And so you're not broken, but what you need to recognize when you break a china are these questions. As you break one, if you have one and you break it, ask yourself, what do you see with the tiny pieces, and how prominent are those tiny pieces to your own sight? How prominent are those tiny pieces of the broken china to your sight? Those tiny pieces that you do not see, what do they help you recognize in your own life as those pieces in your life that you haven't recognized yet that you may need to work on? Like I said, if you have a china and you have it broken, look at the pieces. The large piece that you see is always the loudest. The loud piece that you see in a broken china is always what is visible to your eye. And that is where you are most loud, you're at the loudest when you're broken. When you're broken, the ones that's visible to your eye are those things that you hold on to that maybe you did not recognize, but you're hiding behind because you can't see the tiny fragments that are broken out of you as a woman, and you focus on as what the man is making you to become. We normally say as women, oh, he made me do this. He made me do all of these things, and then he tells me I am not the one. And when you look at the big piece, the biggest fragment piece of a broken dish, what you see is what you present. So ask yourself this question. What are some of these fragments telling you about yourself? When you have a broken piece, what are some of those fragments telling you about yourself, and how are you recognizing those fragments in the moment? How are those fragments also allowing you to see what you're attracting to yourself when you're looking at a potential partner? What are you attracting to yourself from the broken pieces of the dish to yourself? Because when you look at the fine details, and I'm going to bring it closer so you can see, when you look at the fine details, you don't see those right away. You have to take a deeper look at the dish before you see those tiny pieces. And those tiny pieces are those pieces of you that you haven't connected to yet as a woman that may make a man break you. Because when they're broken and you're trying to see without those tiny pieces, the dish cannot be won. Without those tiny details, this dish cannot be the same. So as a woman, when you're looking at yourself as a whole, like this, what you see is the beauty of the dish. What you see is the beauty of the dish, but without the tiny details, without you connecting to those tiny details on the dish, you're not whole. And what happens is those fragments that you're not seeing when this is broken may be the things that you're attracting to yourself, but you haven't recognized yet in your own life, and they're bringing you the pain because those tiny fragments, when you step on them, when they're broken on the ground and you don't see them on the floor, when you step on those tiny pieces are what cuts you deep the most. Am I making sense to anyone this morning? If I am, type yes, let me know I'm making sense and we're connecting. Click the like button, let me know we're connecting. Those tiny pieces in your life are those things that you're yet to connect to that are breaking you when you meet someone who is not a match with you. When you meet someone who is not a match with you, those tiny pieces of the dish that you cannot see when they're broken are what breaks you. But without those tiny pieces, you cannot be complete as a dish. You cannot be whole. So this year, I'm challenging you. Some of you have come to me as clients. I've refunded your money because you're not ready. This is for those who are ready to take their life in 2017, make that shift, turn it around, and begin to attract the right partner to yourself. You were created complete. It took God time to put those details into you, to help you recognize that you're whole. But when you're broken and you cannot see those tiny pieces on the floor and you step on them bare feet, they're those things that cut deep into your soul and allow you to become further broken by a man in a relationship because you're not ready for that relationship yet. You are not ready to attract the love that you need because you're not yet the love that you need. And as long as you begin to attract those things that you do not need in 2017, those tiny pieces will never be found on the floor until you go deep down in and begin to sweep those tiny pieces out of your life because they're broken and you don't need those broken pieces. You need to heal. Once you break this, it's broken. Once you become broken, a piece of you is broken, you begin to lose yourself and you cannot become whole again until you are so determined you're ready to heal. And when you heal and become molded again, like I said in my quote from my book, Being Single, a broken record can still play the best soundtrack when you allow God to work in you by allowing God to heal you and connect to those minute details within yourself that makes you whole again. What are some of the things that these fragments represent in your life that you need to connect to find yourself? Question number 1. Write it down. What are some of those tiny fragments that you need to connect to in your life to find yourself as a single woman so you're not yielding to a man breaking you? You were built not to be broken. You were created as a gem, not to be broken. But when you don't recognize it, it becomes easier for someone to break you. And once a fragment of you, the tiny detailed fragment of you is broken, you're beginning to lose yourself, and you may not find yourself until you find that missing tiny fragment that makes you whole. Can you relate those fragments to some of the things that are going on in your life at this moment that is affecting you emotionally, mentally, physically, and financially? What are some of those little fragments that you're yet to connect to that is affecting you physically, mentally, emotionally, financially in your life that you're yet to connect to? Have you noticed that those tiny fragments, along with the bigger fragments, have to make the dish complete? But without you recognizing that you need all those fragments, somebody has to show them to you, and it's those men that are breaking you that are showing them to you. You were created complete. You have to be ready to recognize those tiny details that make you whole. Again, no one can make you complete and compare to you because no two dishes are the same. The details here are different from the details here. So again, you're not anybody else. You're you, uniquely you, created to be you, created to be whole with the tiny details that make you whole and make you beautiful as God created you to be, as good enough. But when you don't find those tiny details, a man will help you recognize them, but you cannot put the blame on him because you are yet to recognize those things. There was a video that went viral this past week of 2 girls that were being changed by a man, and the man was actually dragging them out in the crowd. Those 2 women did not recognize their wholeness, and so they gave in either financially to allow themselves to be changed and dragged along the street by a man who did not recognize their worth, and most likely they did not recognize their own worth. I've also read a piece of a book this past week on Facebook about a woman saying that a man gave her a disease, an STD, but no man can give you what you do not want to accept. We are what we accept and what we allow, and so you cannot blame the man for not helping you recognize the need to connect to those tiny pieces that will not make you settle for less than your worth as a woman. We women are created as the helpmate to help the man get it when they don't have it together. To be a helpmate means your support. You're the missing rib that was taken out. Without that missing rib, he's gonna slump. And if you don't recognize that you're connecting to the person where you're not brought out from, you're gonna further slump in your own life without recognizing your wholeness as a woman, as a single woman. I've shared my story several times. I did not recognize myself until I was broken, until I was able to see the tiny details in the dish that made me whole. And so what happens is, without us recognizing those tiny details, when a dish is broken, when you become broken, and you cannot find those tiny pieces, but you're focusing on the bigger pieces that are visible to your sight, those ones are not what makes the dish complete. The bigger details are the things you're used to seeing regularly on the surface. Your beauty, what you put on. Those are things that you're always seeing and you're connecting to. But what about those tiny details that you haven't connected to yet? Because those will determine the kind of person you are attracting to yourself as a single woman. When you connect to those tiny details in your life as a single woman, and you recognize, I need to be financially complete, I need to be emotionally complete, I need to be mentally complete, I need to be emotionally stable and physically whole to make myself complete, all I need is someone who will compliment me when I recognize my own wholeness. But without recognizing your own wholeness, you can go to 20 coaches that can help you or a matchmaker that can actually help you meet someone, but that person you're meeting may not actually be the one to compliment you, because after a while, the conflicts begin to arise again, and you lose that relationship, and you find yourself further broken without connecting to the tiny pieces that are missing. As a coach, I only coach those who are coachable and are ready to see it. Those tiny pieces of your dish will help you recognize what you need to work on for you to be put on a shelf where you need to be placed, where you need to place yourself to be found, like Ruth did. Ruth had the guts to be in a field where she didn't know anyone. But as long as you're sitting in a place where you're comfortable with yourself and you're not seeing that those tiny details are still missing in you, and you can't really recognize those tiny details, you may be putting yourself in a field where you don't belong as a single woman. You can pay 10,000 coaches to help you find a partner, but they're not responsible for doing the work for you until you're ready to connect to those little details and do the work in your own life. In 2017, as we begin, we're only 14 days into 2017. What are some of those things that you need to work on that represent those tiny fragments in a broken dish that will help you connect to yourself so you can begin to attract the right partner into your own life? What are some of those little details that you haven't focused on? Forget about the large pieces. Those are the things we put on. The mask we put on, the clothes, the makeup, the shoes. Those are intangible. Those tiny pieces that cut through your soul when someone breaks your heart are those things that you need to connect to first, to find you, to become complete, to recognize that you're worth more. Because as a diamond, you cannot be found on the surface. I've documented this in my books. You can get them if you need them. As a diamond, you are not found on the surface. People have to go deep within to find a diamond in the dirt. I'm not saying you're a dirt, but you're buried. Those tiny pieces that are missing are buried within you for someone to discover them, to recognize your worth, that you're indeed a gem, when God created you and said you were good enough. But you have to discover those things so you can attract the partner who will recognize those things in you. What are you going to do to recognize those things and begin to work on those tiny details in your life in 2017? We are what we attract and we are what we accept. And if you keep accepting everybody that comes because there's a void that is within you that you haven't recognized you need to fill, they will continue to break you further and cut you with those tiny, minute details of a broken dish that will cut deep into your soul and further make you lose yourself. How can you begin to recognize those things? Here is my assignment for you. This is a free coaching session today. Here is my assignment to you for this session. Take a dish, break it, and as you look at those tiny, minute pieces that are not easily visible to the eye, begin to write down those things about you that you do not like, that you need to work on. Those little things about you that you need to work on, that you do not like about yourself, those are the things that will lead you to finding yourself. As a woman, I'm tired of looking at other women wasting away without recognizing how powerful they are. How beautiful you are on the inside. Beauty without character is vain, but your character will be altered once you allow someone to break you. And what shows up when your character is altered and your integrity is no longer intact is your ego on the surface that allows you to present yourself as who you're not while hiding behind the mask and throwing all the pain underneath the rug. You cannot keep hiding who you are on the inside, because that is what will allow you to attract the right partner into your life and keep them for a lifetime. You cannot pretend to go along with a man who is not treating you as your worth and think that when you do get married to him, things will change. No, honey, things will get worse until you recognize your worth, because the one who God created you out of is able to recognize you even when you don't recognize yourself, and help you find those little details that keep cutting you and help you heal from them. I shared a video this month about the woman who made the vow and how the guy helped her connect to herself and begin to heal from all the pain that she's carrying, because she recognized in that moment, listen, I know you want to be in a relationship with me and you see my flaws and you see where I am, but as I'm a work in progress. And the man made for you, like in that video, will help you recognize, yes, I see you're a work in progress, but I'm ready to work with you because I know you were brought out of me. But when you present yourself and a man is not ready to help you recognize those parts of you that need to heal, you will be used and you will be dumped. And he's going to move on to his next victim. And you cannot blame him in that moment because you haven't connected to the tiny pieces in your own life. I was once a broken vessel. I was once a broken dish. I was once a broken record. But the moment I decided to heal, my decision, my own choice, facing my own reality and owning my moments, I decided to allow God to make me beautiful again. Not the outward beauty, but my inner beauty, to connect to that. So that people can see that on the outside without me flaunting it. Because the tiny details that make up the dish are not easily visible to the person who you're attracting until you allow them to see that and recognize you're not cheap. You don't belong on the sales rack. You're a prized possession. You're a gem. They have to go down deep into the sea to get the oyster to bring out your pearl. You're not just giving them the thigh, breast, and leg at a cheap rate for 99 cents, because you're not 99 cents. You're not even made up of that. You're made up of so much more. So as I've explained today, how are you beginning to connect, to realize that you aren't complete until you find those tiny pieces, heal from them if you've been broken as a child or an adult woman, to really recognize that those tiny fragments are some of the things that you need to work on and build on in your own life before you attract someone. Because when you see the tiny details of what you're made of, that makes you really, really beautiful as you were created, that person who you're attracting, the potential partner, will be able to recognize it when they see you. Because you know what you need, and you're only attracting what you need based on your requirements into your own life. You're not just attracting anyone who can see the large broken pieces, but you're attracting someone who can connect to your core, because you were brought out of each other. You were brought out of him, and he's able to recognize that. He's not a time waster. He's not a player. He's not somebody who's just going to walk in and walk out of your life, but he's someone who's going to stay and help you become a stronger, better, wiser, and not a bitter you, but a better you, as you do the same for him as a single woman. I've given you the assignment to begin to do the work. Valentine's Day is around the corner for those who celebrate it. But without you recognizing those little pieces that make up the real details that put you together, help you complete your own puzzle, Valentine may happen and you may attract the wrong person who's only there for that season to get you into your cookie jar. Take the cookie and keep moving. I just wanted to connect with the single woman today. If you need support with this, please do not hesitate to reach out to me via email. It's coaching@kemishogule.com. You can also inbox me on Facebook, and I'll be more than willing to support you this year on getting it right, so you stop attracting this men who don't recognize your worth, but you recognize your worth, you recognize what you need, and you begin to work on you. Remember this, a broken record, no matter what kind of relationship that you've been in and out of, a broken record can still play the best soundtrack when you allow God to work on you. Broken can become beautiful again. The moment you choose to heal, the moment you choose to find yourself rather than lose yourself, the moment you acknowledge that, yes, I'm ready to do the work to attract the right partner, to be the partner who I need in my life, love myself first so I can attract the love that I need and become a better me, not a bitter me. I hope you all have an amazing weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Again, feel free to inbox me, email me if you have questions and how I can support you on your journey in 2017 to become a better, to attract better, and to keep that person in your life going forward for the rest of your lifetime. You'll have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you soon. God bless. Bye-bye.